Here's more wrestling news for November 15th, 2022. And we're starting off with Karrion Kross and Scarlett, who have been prominent fixtures on WWE SmackDown since being rehired in July. During their time away from WWE, the real-life married couple made a lot of commitments, and unfortunately, one such commitment won't be happening. On Twitter, the official account for Cked, a popular pro wrestling convention, confirmed that Kross and Scarlett won't be at their Cked weekend event that is scheduled to take place next weekend. Unfortunately, due to their commitments with WWE, Killer Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux will not be appearing during Cked weekend 2020. We apologize for the inconvenience. If you purchased a ticket to meet them, your refund has already been processed. Thank you for your support. As stars of NXT and various promotions before they arrived in WWE, Kross and Scarlett would no doubt have had a long line of people excited to meet them, but the only way they'll get the chance to do that is at a sanctioned WWE event. Recently, we reported on Scarlett Bordeaux, who had a drink thrown at her at a WWE live event. The fan, alongside those with her, was quickly ejected, and now Scarlett has shared her 2 cents on the matter. In character, Scarlett tweeted that as a classy woman from Chicago, she's not surprised that this happened in Peoria, Illinois, where the show took place, and said that the granny's booze was as cheap as her hairdo. There's no word on what happened with the fan and her friends, though typically incidents like these result in people being banned from WWE events for years, and it goes to show that just because you bought a ticket doesn't mean you can do something like this. Over to AEW, as Luchasaurus has been a top prospect in AEW for quite some time, but it now looks like the former World Tag Team Champion is working hurt. On last week's Rampage, Luchasaurus confronted his former partner Jungle Boy, and after a beatdown, laid Jungle Boy out with a chokeslam on a steel chair. During Wrestling Observer Live, Brian Alvarez noted how Luchasaurus performed a left-handed chokeslam, the opposite of what he usually does, and explained that the monster is hurt. Alvarez added that Luchasaurus isn't just hurt, but he has been hurt for a while now, and added that it's hopefully nothing too serious. This weekend's Full Gear will see Luchasaurus face Jungle Boy inside a steel cage, but with this injury, there's serious questions about what the plan is going into what will be a hard-hitting match. More injury news now, as AEW has been plagued by wrestlers getting hurt this year, and another notable name is on the shelf. PW Insider has learned that while competing for the Warriors of Wrestling promotion in Staten Island, New York, AEW's Abadon suffered an injury. Abadon was injured while performing a Hurricane Rana against Joey Ace, and the match was immediately called off. The AEW wrestler was rushed to hospital, and it's believed she has suffered a broken collarbone. Typically, a broken collarbone can take between 6 to 12 weeks to heal, but it may be months before we see Abadon back in the ring. Abadon hasn't been featured a ton on AEW TV, but is a regular on shows like Dark and Dark Elevation, and we are wishing her a speedy recovery. There was a time when fans thought they'd never see Saraya wrestle again, but that'll all change this weekend. At Full Gear, Saraya will face Britt Baker in the former Paige's first match in nearly 5 years, which was confirmed on last week's episode of Dynamite. In her promo, Saraya spoke about her neck injury and how much she's struggled over the years, but as Bully Ray claimed on Busted Open Radio, this was all just a little self-centered. All of that other stuff that came out of her mouth, what did it accomplish? I did this, I did that, I battled this, I got hit by a car, my family this, I've been doing this 30 years. Okay, every wrestler has their story, but for a babyface to go in there and go me, that's why it reminded me of Taz, because it was like, I had to go through this, I was too short, I had to deal with this, blah, 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 what about me, what about Taz? That's what I felt from Saraya. There have been questions about AEW's decision to allow Saraya to wrestle, with fans even claiming that the British star had to go to several doctors just to find one to give her the A-OK. Saraya has refuted any claims that the decision to clear her has been anything but legitimate, and we'll have to see how she fares in her first match back. Since returning to WWE in 2017, Drew McIntyre has proven himself to be very reliable and hasn't shied away from any kind of feud. This dedication has seen McIntyre rise to the top of both NXT and the main roster, but we are now learning more about what Drew goes through as a WWE superstar. According to PW Insider, McIntyre is earning a ton of praise and respect backstage for his recent travel schedule that saw him land in 5 countries in just 1 week. This insane schedule began with a SmackDown taping in the US before making live appearances at house shows in Germany and Switzerland before he arrived in Saudi Arabia for Crown Jewel. After defeating Karrion Kross and Reeked, a win he got while fighting a nasty stomach bug, McIntyre was off to India to film a movie role set up between WWE and Sony. After India, McIntyre headed straight back to the US in time for the next episode of SmackDown, and with the Scotsman expected to enter War Games later this month, Drew is keeping plenty busy and hopefully will get a chance to rest soon. If you look at Brock Lesnar, the first thing you're likely to notice is his muscles, but you'll probably also notice the former world champion's many tattoos. Looking at Brock head-on, the most obvious piece of ink is the large sword that covers the front of his body, and there's a very specific reason for that tattoo. Writing in his memoir, Death Clutch, Lesnar explained how the decision to get the tattoo in 2005 stemmed from his non-compete clause with WWE that was keeping him from working for New Japan. I felt like life was holding a sword right up against my throat, so I went under the ink gun because I never wanted to forget exactly how I felt at that time. The tattoo on my chest has so much meaning to me. Lesnar added that it's ironic, as the period after his 2004 WWE departure is a time he wishes he could forget, but obviously can't because of the tattoo. Lesnar was last seen on WWE programming at Crown Jewel, where he got a controversial victory over Bobby Lashley, and expect Brock and his ink to be back on our screens, likely in time for WrestleMania. For much of his career, Randy Orton was known for his infamous actions out of the ring, from allegedly defecating in a diva's bag to firing fireworks at the cars of other wrestlers. Orton has thankfully mellowed down considerably since then, but it appears his antics outside the ring may be hereditary. Speaking to Hannibal TV, Randy's father Bob Orton recalled one of his own escapades, saying he was woken during a sleep in a hotel room by a call which said that 2 other wrestlers had been handcuffed and taken to jail. Racing out of his room to solve the situation, Orton forgot to take his key, locking himself out of the room, and in his panic, had also forgotten to get dressed. The naked future WWE Hall of Famer was able to contact motel staff, who brought a key with police, but when the officer entered the room, Orton blew a fuse, demanding he leave. Things escalated so quickly that the officer tased Bob Orton 3 times, but the cowboy just pulled the barbs out and threatened to throw the officer over the rail. With Orton saying they were nice to him after that, and we doubt that at the time he ever thought that his son Randy would one day have similar stories of his own. In June, Jeff Hardy was arrested and charged with driving under the influence, marking his 3rd DUI charge in under a decade. Hardy has pled not guilty to the charges against him, and now there's been an update in his case. This week, Hardy's case was heard in court, and in a statement, Florida Highway Patrol gave more details about what happened in June. Trooper Zach Steiner, who was the officer who confronted Hardy, wrote in the report about how he tried his best to keep Hardy from escalating the situation, adding, "I issued loud verbal commands for the driver to take his hands out of the bag, to which he did not respond. I proceeded to slap the passenger window to gain his attention, which was also unsuccessful. The driver appeared to be in a stupor and confused." The report added that Hardy reeked of alcohol when he was stopped, and was said to be unsteady on his feet when he exited the vehicle. Jeff has been suspended without pay from AEW, and Tony Khan has said that while he supports Jeff's decision to enter rehab, this is his first, last, and only chance to improve as an AEW star. If convicted, Hardy faces up to 5 years behind bars and will keep following the case of the problematic former world champion. Last year, while on a Fozzy tour in the UK, Chris Jericho suffered a serious health scare that would force the wrestler/rock star to miss a show. The healthcare didn't just affect Jericho's music, but also forced him to take time away from the ring, and now we know more about what really happened. Speaking to Howie Mandel, Jericho recalled his health scare, which started when he felt himself struggling to breathe while in the middle of a performance. Couldn't breathe, like literally. I was on stage with Fozzy and I couldn't sing, I couldn't catch my breath, and I was like, this is weird. And I started hearing a blood clot, because I talked to a couple of doctors that I knew here. And lo and behold, I had a day off in London, went and got some blood tests, and they said, you gotta go right to the hospital, you've got blood clots, pulmonary embolism. Which, I mean, people die from that. Right away, you gotta start getting blood thinners. Jericho added that while a typical oxygen level should be around 99 or 100, his was down to 92, and that he couldn't even get off the couch without panting. Thankfully, Jericho would recover quickly from what happened and is now the reigning Ring of Honor World Champion, but it just goes to show how important it is to get checked out when things don't feel right. And we're ending today with Cody Rhodes, who competed for AEW for years and was a regular on the company's pay-per-views. With AEW Full Gear 2022 right around the corner, fans have been reflecting on last year's event, which also marked the last pay-per-view match for the American Nightmare in AEW. On Twitter, some said that the tag match pitting Rhodes and Pac against Andrade and Malachi Black is entirely forgettable, even claiming that Cody buried his opponents and then left for WWE. Not everyone had such a negative opinion, with one fan saying they loved the tag match, but admitted it would have been better as a four-way. Rhodes was never embraced by the AEW crowd in the way he's been embraced by WWE fans, and even now, an entire year and a huge WrestleMania return later, there's plenty of hostility for Cody by AEW's faithful. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.